Charles Sackville, 6th Earl of Dorset and 1st Earl of Middlesex. KG was an English poet and courtier. Early life. He was son of Richard Sackville, 5th Earl of Dorset. His mother was the former Lady Frances Cranfield, sister and heiress of the 3rd Earl of Middlesex, to whose estates he succeeded in 1674, being created Baron Cranfield of Cranfield in the county of Middlesex, and Earl of Middlesex in 1675. He succeeded to his father's estates and title in August 1677. He was educated privately, and spent some time abroad with a private tutor, returning to England shortly before the Restoration. In King Charles II's first Parliament he sat for East Grinstead in Sussex. He had no taste for politics, however, but won a reputation as courtier and wit at Whitehall. Career. He bore his share in the excesses for which Sir Charles Sedley and Lord Rochester were notorious. In 1662, he and his brother Edward, with 3 other gentlemen, were indicted for the robbery and murder of a tanner named Hoppy. The defence was that they were in pursuit of thieves, and mistook Hoppy for a highwayman. They appear to have been acquitted, for when in 1663 Sir Charles Sedley was tried for a gross breach of public decency in Covent Garden, Sackville, who had been one of the offenders, according to Samuel Pepys, was asked by the Lord Chief Justice whether he had so soon forgot his deliverance at the time, and that it would have more become him to have been at his prayers begging God's forgiveness than now running into such courses again. Something in his character made his follies less obnoxious to the citizens than those of the other rakes, for he was never altogether unpopular, and Rochester is said to have told Charles II that he did not know how it was. My Lord Dorset might do anything, yet was never to blame. In 1665 he volunteered to serve under the Duke of York in the Second Anglo-Dutch War. His famous song, "To All You Ladies Now at Land," was written, according to Pryor, on the night before the victory gained over Fogueoptam off Harwich. Dr. Johnson, with the remark that seldom any splendid story is wholly true, says that the Earl of Orrery had told him it was only retouched on that occasion. In 1667 Pepys laments that Sackville had lured Nell Gwyn away from the theatre, and that with Sedley the two kept merry house at Epsom. Next year the king was paying court to Nell, and her Charles II, as she called him, was sent on a sleeveless errand into France to be out of the way. In 1678 he narrowly escaped death at the hands of the deranged Earl of Pembroke, with whom he was engaged in a lawsuit. His gaiety and wit secured the continued favour of Charles II, but did not especially recommend him to James II, who could not, moreover, forgive Dorset's lampoons on his mistress Catherine Sedley, Countess of Dorchester. On James's accession, therefore, he retired from court. He concurred in the invitation to William of Orange, who made him a privy councillor, Lord Chamberlain, and Knight of the Garter. During William's absences in 1695 to 1698 he was one of the Lord Chief Justices of the realm. In 1699 he was elected a Fellow of the Royal Society. He was a generous patron of men of letters. When Dryden was dismissed from the laureateship, he made him an equivalent pension from his own purse. Matthew Prior, in dedicating his poems on several occasions to Dorset's son, affirms that his opinion was consulted by Edmund Waller, that the Duke of Buckingham deferred the publication of his rehearsal until he was assured that Dorset would not rehearse upon him again, and that Samuel Butler and Wycherley both owed the first recognition to him. Prior's praise of Dorset is no doubt extravagant, but when his youthful follies were over he appears to have developed sterling qualities, and although the poems he has left are very few, none of them are devoid of merit. Dryden's essay on satire and a dedication of the essay of dramatic poesy are addressed to him. Walpole says that he had as much wit as his first master, or his contemporaries Buckingham and Rochester, without the the royal want of feeling, the Duke's want of principles, of the Earl's want of thought, and Congreve reported of him when he was dying that he slabbered more wit than other people had in the best health. Marriages. He was 3 times married. He married his first wife Elizabeth Bagot, widow of Charles Berkeley, Earl of Falmouth and daughter of Harvey Bagot and Dorothy Arden, in June 1674. He married his second wife, Mary Compton, daughter of James Compton, 3rd Earl of Northampton and Hon. Mary Knowle, on the 7th of March 1685. They had 2 children together, Lionel Cranfield Sackville, 1st Duke of Dorset, and Mary Sackville. He fathered an illegitimate daughter, also named Mary Sackville. He died at Bath in 1706. Works. The 4th Act of Pompey the Great, a tragedy translated out of French by certain persons of honour, is by Dorset. The satires for which Pope classed him with the masters in that kind seem to have been short lampoons, with the exception of a faithful catalogue of our most eminent ninnies. The works of the Earls of Rochester, Roscommon and Dorset, the Dukes of Devonshire, Buckingham and C, with memoirs of the lives as catalogued by H.G. Bohn in 1841. His poems are included in Anderson's and other collections of the British poets.